Hello everyone, and welcome to your English e-learning class. Today we are going to learn a very touching story of two friends and an old artist. From the Beehive's book of Class 9, the name of the chapter is Last Leaf by O. Henry. In this video, we will cover about the author, characters present in the story, introduction, theme, message conveyed by the author, plot analysis, synopsis, and few practice questions for self-assessment. Now, let's learn something about the author of our story. Was better known by his pen name O. Henry, was an American short story writer. Porter was born in Greensboro, North Carolina, and later moved to Texas in 1882. It was there that he met his wife, Ethel Estes, with whom he had 2 children. In 1902, after the death of his wife, Porter moved to New York, where he soon remarried. It was while he was in New York that Porter's most intensive writing period occurred, with Porter writing 381 short stories. Porter's works include The Gift of the Magi, The Duplicity of Hargraves, and The Ransom of Red Chief. His stories are known for their surprise endings and witty narration. Porter also wrote poetry and non-fiction. Porter's legacy includes the O. Henry Award, an annual prize awarded to outstanding short stories. He took his last breath on June 5, 1910. Let's take a look at the characters of our story. So, our first character is Sue. Let her introduce herself.
Hey, everyone. I am Sue. I am very kind and considerate. I always think about the well-being of my friend.
So, our next character is Johnsy. Let her introduce herself.
Hey, everyone. I am Johnsy. I want to paint the Bay of Naples. I fell ill with pneumonia and believed that when the last leaf of the vine tree falls, I will die.
So, our next character is Beman. Let him introduce himself.
Hey, everyone. I am Beman. In spite of my fierce character, I have genuine affection for Johnsy.
So, our next character is the Doctor. Let him introduce himself.
Hey everyone. I am the Doctor. I am a busy, old man with shaggy grey eyebrows who attends to Johnsy and Beman. I diagnosed Johnsy with mental as well as physical illness, telling Sue that I cannot help a patient with medicine when she doesn't want to get better.
Now, let's have a glance at the introduction. The Last Leaf is a famous story of O. Henry. It is a sentimental story. Sue and Johnsy were 2 young artistic friends. They lived together. Once Johnsy fell ill, there was an ivy creeper outside the window. Its leaves were falling. Johnsy had a fancy that she would die when the last leaf on the ivy fell. She was worried. An old painter named Beman lived downstairs. He considered the girls like his very own daughters, and he wanted to save Johnsy from death. Beman goes out on a rainy night and paints a leaf on the brick wall. Seeing this leaf the next day, Johnsy regains interest in life and lives happily ever after. But poor Beman dies of pneumonia. It is a story of great sacrifice. The Last Leaf is a touching story of how a painter inspires a girl to live, and in the process, loses his own life. The main theme explored in the story is that of selflessness and sacrifice. This then is illustrated by Beman, and his efforts help Johnsy find a reason to live and something to hold on to. When Beman finds out that Johnsy is convinced that she will die once the last ivy leaf falls, he is determined to do something to prevent her death. as an ultimate sacrifice. He gets out in the rain and snow, in the middle of night, to paint an ivy leaf on the brick wall. Other minor themes also resurfaces from the text, and the most notable ones are those of hope and the theme of death. The main message of this story is the power of hope. Hope is what threads through this story of love that two young women artists from different places have for each other, and old Beman has for the young woman artists. He goes out in the cold and snow to paint an ivy leaf on the wall and dies due to cold. Let's see the message conveyed by the author. The chief message that the story gives is the spirit of sacrifice we need to have in our life. The old artist Beman sacrifices his life so that Johnsy should live. In this process, he also achieves with his ambition of painting a masterpiece. The other message is that we should have a positive attitude in life. Johnsy was under depression and she felt her life was linked to the leaves on the ivy creeper. This prevented her from getting better from her illness. She was also causing harm to her friend, Sue. Had she adopted a positive attitude, Beman would not have died. Our thinking and attitude affects the lives of other people too. Now let's have a look on the plot analysis. Number 1 is exposition. Sue and Johnsy shared a flat on the third story of an old house. But in the month of November, Sue's friend Johnsy got pneumonia. Point number 2 is rising action. Johnsy thought that she would die when the last ivy leaf fell. Then Sue told Behrman about Johnsy's problem. Point number 3 is climax. Johnsy learned a lesson from the last leaf that it is sin to want to die. Point number 4 is falling action. The doctor told Sue that Johnsy would recover, but Behrman got pneumonia, and there was no hope for him. Point number 5 is resolution. Sue told Johnsy that Behrman had sacrificed his life for the sake of her. Now let's see the synopsis. The last leaf takes place in Greenwich Village, a bohemian neighborhood in New York City, sometime in the early 20th century. The story centers on Sue and Johnsy, two young women artists who share a studio at the top of a rundown apartment building. When winter comes, Johnsy becomes grievously ill with a case of pneumonia. The doctor who visits them predicts that Johnsy won't have much chance of survival if she doesn't find the will to live, since his medicines have little effect on a patient who has decided that she is going to die. When the doctor asks if Johnsy is depressed about something in particular, Sue mentions Johnsy's unfulfilled ambition to paint the Bay of Naples, but the doctor is dismissive and asks if Johnsy is troubled over a man. An increasingly fatalistic Johnsy becomes obsessed with the leaves falling from a vine outside her window. After the last leaf falls, she tells Sue she will die. Sue works on an illustration for a magazine, which she plans to sell to buy more food for Johnsy, and tries unsuccessfully to convince Johnsy that she has something to live for. Sue goes to visit their downstairs neighbor, Beman, an old, unsuccessful artist who, after decades of failure, still hopes to paint his masterpiece. When he hears about Johnsy's illness and her obsession with the leaves outside her window, he is initially contemptuous of the idea that leaves could have anything to do with Johnsy's health. Ultimately, however, Beman stays out all night in a violent storm to paint a realistic-looking leaf onto the wall outside Sue and Johnsy's window. Seeing that the last leaf, which is in fact Beman's painting, has seemingly survived the storm 2 nights in a row, Johnsy takes hope and begins to recover. However, Beman catches pneumonia from exposure to the rain and cold and dies a few days later. When Sue tells Johnsy this, she remarks that Beman had finally painted his masterpiece. Here are a few practice questions for you. Question number 1. How did the disease pneumonia affect Johnsy? Question number 2. Why did Johnsy keep staring out of the window? Question number 3. Explain the symbolism of the last leaf that hung down the ivy creeper. Question number 4. Which items were found near Bemin when he died? What did this signify?
Thank you so much, students. Hope you've understood the chapter. We will meet in the next class. Till then, keep learning, keep practicing.